Most retailers try to make every transaction profitable. Jim Sinegal built Costco around a more contrarian idea. The store did not need to extract the maximum margin from each sale if the entire system could create stronger loyalty, greater efficiency, and durable growth. That decision reshaped retail strategy. It also reveals a broader principle of wealth creation. Lasting enterprise value often comes from disciplined choices that appear unattractive in the short term. Costco's secret was not a flashy advertising campaign or an elaborate luxury experience. It was alignment. The membership model connected the customer's interest with the company's interest. Costco succeeded when members believed they were receiving high-quality goods at the lowest possible prices, and when that trust encouraged them to keep returning. Instead of treating the customer as a target, Sinegal treated the customer as the central partner in the business model. That structure changed the economics of retail. A traditional retailer may rely heavily on advertising to bring shoppers through the door, then depend on product markups to generate profit. Costco used membership to establish a relationship before the shopping trip even began. The store could focus on value, selection, and efficiency. The customer paid for access, while Costco worked to make that access feel increasingly worthwhile. The model required unusual restraint. Costco could have raised product prices to improve short-term results. Instead, its retail strategy emphasized margin compression. That phrase sounds negative because margin is normally associated with strength. Yet deliberate margin compression can become a competitive weapon when it produces trust, volume, and repeat behavior. The company sacrificed some immediate gain in exchange for a more resilient connection with the customer. This is where Jim Sinegal's judgment mattered. He understood that price is not merely a number on a shelf. Price communicates intent. When a company consistently works to lower the customer's cost, it sends a message that the relationship matters more than a single transaction. That message can become part of the brand. Costco's brand was built not through louder promotion, but through repeated evidence that the company was willing to protect the members' value. The approach was contrarian because it challenged the assumption that higher prices and wider margins automatically create a stronger business. Sinegal recognized that a business can become fragile when it maximizes every visible financial measure while weakening the underlying customer experience. Costco pursued a different form of growth: operational growth. The company sought to build a system capable of delivering value repeatedly across locations, products, and purchasing decisions. Operational discipline made that promise credible. Low prices alone do not create an unstoppable brand. The business must also control waste, simplify decisions, manage inventory carefully, and maintain a consistent experience. Every unnecessary cost can eventually appear in the customer's price. Every inefficient process can undermine the membership model. Costco's advantage came from making thousands of practical decisions support the same central objective. That discipline also extended to employees. Sinegal prioritized high employee wages even when conventional retail thinking might favor lower labor costs. The decision was not simply charitable, and it was not detached from economics. A workforce that stays longer can develop greater familiarity with products, procedures, customers, and store operations. Better employee retention can reduce the disruption caused by constant turnover and help the organization perform with greater consistency. This creates an important business cycle. Treat employees well, and the company may retain more experience. Retain more experience, and daily operations can become more efficient. Improve efficiency, and the business has more room to protect prices. Protect prices, and customers have more reason to renew their membership and return. Stronger loyalty supports the system, allowing the company to continue investing in employees and operations. The lesson is not that every company should copy Costco mechanically. The lesson is to understand the chain of cause and effect. An expense should be judged by the capability it creates, not only by the cost it adds. Employee compensation, training, reliable systems, and customer service may look like expenses on a single-period statement. Over time, they can function as infrastructure for retention, efficiency, and trust. This distinction matters to intelligent investors. A superficial analysis may focus on margin percentage and assume that a higher number always represents superior performance. A deeper analysis asks what the margin is doing. Is it funding waste, or is it compensating for weak loyalty? Is a lower margin the result of poor control, or is it a deliberate investment in customer value and long-term scale? Margin compression is not automatically wise, but purposeful compression can strengthen a business when the operating system supports it. Costco's membership model added another layer of discipline. Once customers pay for membership, the company must continually justify that relationship. The value cannot be promised once and forgotten. It must be renewed through product quality, pricing, convenience, and confidence. This creates accountability. The business is not merely trying to complete a sale. It is trying to remain useful enough that the customer sees continued membership as rational. That is a powerful form of brand building. Advertising can create awareness, but operational consistency creates belief. Customers may notice a campaign for a few seconds. They remember a pattern of fair pricing and dependable value. Over time, that pattern becomes difficult for competitors to imitate because it is embedded in purchasing decisions, employee practices, supplier relationships, and store routines. Competitors spent billions on advertising and marketing, while Costco focused more heavily on the membership relationship and the machinery that supported it. The contrast illustrates a central principle of strategic growth. Visibility can attract attention, but attention is not loyalty. A business that spends to be noticed must keep spending to remain noticed. A business that earns trust through operations can allow the customer experience to reinforce the brand every day. Senegal's strategy also reduced dependence on short-term stock price growth. Prioritizing high employee wages and thin margins can appear less exciting to investors seeking immediate expansion. Yet a company is not built for one reporting period. It is built through accumulated decisions. The objective is to create an enterprise whose capabilities become stronger with use, rather than one that looks impressive only when conditions are favorable. That is the foundation of generational wealth. Wealth is not simply the cash produced by a business this year. It is the ownership of an asset that can keep producing value because its systems, reputation, and relationships remain durable. Costco's example shows how operational discipline can become an asset in its own right. The brand, the membership base, the workforce, and the retail process reinforce one another. For entrepreneurs, the first practical blueprint is to define the customer promise in economic terms. Do not settle for a vague statement such as better service. Decide what value the customer should consistently receive, and then design the business around delivering it. Costco made low prices on high-quality goods central to its promise. That clarity helped guide decisions about margins, employees, marketing, and operations. The second blueprint is to identify where margin compression can create strategic strength. Lower prices are not automatically beneficial. They must be supported by purchasing power, process control, customer loyalty, or another durable advantage. Before reducing margin, an entrepreneur should understand how the sacrifice will be recovered. In Costco's model, the membership relationship and operational efficiency helped connect lower prices to a broader economic system. The third blueprint is to treat employee retention as an operating investment. Constant turnover can drain knowledge, damage service, and force managers to repeat basic training. Retention, by contrast, allows experience to accumulate. The goal is not to spend recklessly on labor. The goal is to create conditions in which capable people want to stay, improve, and protect the standards that customers depend on. The fourth blueprint is to measure growth beyond revenue. Ask whether each new customer becomes more loyal, whether each new location can preserve the operating model, and whether the organization becomes more efficient as it expands. Costco's growth was not simply a matter of opening more doors. It depended on carrying the same discipline into a larger system without losing the customer's sense of value. The fifth blueprint is asset protection through alignment. A business becomes more defensible when its key assets support one another. A trusted brand supports membership. Membership supports recurring customer engagement. Customer engagement supports scale. Scale can support pricing and operational investment. Employee retention protects execution. The result is not a single asset that competitors can easily purchase. It is a network of reinforcing advantages. This is why Costco became more than a warehouse retailer. It became an example of how a business can turn restraint into strength. Senegal did not pursue every available dollar from every transaction. He pursued a model in which customers, employees, and the company could benefit from the same operating choices. That alignment made the brand difficult to dislodge because its promise was connected to the way the business actually functioned. The broader lesson is especially important in an age of constant optimization. Managers are often encouraged to raise prices, reduce labor costs, increase promotion, and maximize immediate returns. Sometimes those actions are necessary, but when they weaken trust or execution, they can destroy the very capabilities that create long-term wealth. Costco demonstrates that discipline is not the absence of ambition. It is ambition governed by a longer time horizon. Jim Sinegal built Costco's unstoppable brand by making the customer's advantage the engine of the company's advantage. He used a membership model to create alignment, margin compression to reinforce value, employee retention to strengthen execution, and operational discipline to make the promise repeatable. For investors and entrepreneurs, the strategy is clear. Build assets that compound trust, not merely transactions. Protect the system, and the system can protect the future.